Hey guys, this is Nayla's 9th video session, and if you guys haven't been following along on your journey, you can check out the link up here and catch up on the rest of those videos. Anyway, in our last video we worked on the lope in the round pen, and if you guys remember, she was kicking up a lot, she was very tight, she didn't want to move out and move through herself. So we worked on that until she could lope a few strides without any issues. In this video I'm going to show you how much she's progressed in that lope, and she loosened up a lot, but sometimes you have to have those tough rides to get to the good ones. So we're going to show you some of that. We're going to show you some shoulder control and stuff. As you can see, I'm already in the saddle. I feel like I've covered the other details in other videos as far as prepping her for her rides and things like that. So we're just going to hop right into it. Alright guys, so this is Nayla's 4th ride, and in this session I really want to focus on pushing her out more at the lope. If you watched our last video, you saw that when we loped her, then she was very tight and worried about it. So I really want to get her a little bit more mentally relaxed and kind of push her comfort zone just a little bit farther. As you guys know, she is very feely, and she has a tendency to get anxious about things pretty easily. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is to warm her up like I would any horse, and I'm going to walk around for a while and just make sure that she's soft in the rib cage and that she's responding well to those reins. We just started working on some shoulder control, so I'm going to polish that up just a little bit, because when I go to lope off, she has a tendency to drop that shoulder in and try to cut that circle off. So I'm going to work on this at a slower speed so that it's a little bit more clear in her mind before moving her up to the lope. And if you'll watch closely, I never try to drag that horse's shoulder over there. What I'm going to do is gently pick those reins up and guide that shoulder over there and then push it through with my legs. So I'll tip the nose to the inside and then push the shoulder to the outside. I'll go ahead and trot her off here, and we're going to work on the same exercise just a little bit more at the jog. And what I'm going to work on here mainly though is I'll start bumping my legs gently and asking her to just kind of soften in the back and drop those withers and drive into the bit a little bit more. You can see she comes up a little bit there, and I'm just going to make contact and gently ask her to drive into the bit. That looks really cute there for Nayla. I'm going to ask for a little bit of that shoulder control right there. You saw how I picked her up, tipped that nose to the inside, set her up, and then pushed her across with my leg. I never try to pull the horse there or muscle her. There it was. That was a really nice yield there. And this is an exercise that can take many, many repetitions before it becomes pretty. What I'm working on right here as well is kind of the same exercise as when we lunged him on the ground, except that my leg has taken the place of the stick. So I'm driving that hip with my inside leg, keeping the speed going with my outside leg, and asking that horse to soften around. I'll sometimes spend 10 or 15 minutes just warming up at a trot. I don't like to move up to the lope until the horse feels pretty consistent at a trot. Obviously she's pretty green, she's pretty young still, so you're not going to have a perfect jog before you move up to a higher speed, but I do like to make sure that that horse is really relaxed and confident. That's really cute there. You can see how I bump with my legs and then wait for her to settle in between my hands and my legs. And I don't have to make a lot of contact or pull on her face. I'm not trying to make an artificial headset here. All I'm trying to do is get her to relax between those reins. That looked really, really nice. I'm going to go ahead and shut her down and just let her have a break before we move her out here to the lope. You can see when I bring her up to the lope here that she's still pretty tight in the back like she was last time. Her head's up, her tail's flicking. But what I do like is that she's taking a little bit more responsibility and being consistent at that lope, and I don't have to drive her the whole time. I'm keeping her on a really loose rein here because I would like for her to move out. I'm giving her the option to really move out. I'm staying really low in my seat and staying out of her way as much as possible. This is a really unusual scenario though. Usually when you start these young horses and you start loping them out, then they want to go a lot faster than this. She is not comfortable with the idea of moving out, and I'm really not sure why at this point. I did have a chiropractor look at her to make sure that she was not in pain or anything was seriously off with her. So she is checked out, she's got a clean bill, but she's just not comfortable with this yet. So we're going to continue to work on it. But like I was saying, if you move these colts out at a lope, what you want to be comfortable doing is to go as fast as they choose to go. You don't want to be holding onto their faces and giving them conflicting signals about what you're asking them to do. So often when I start loping these colts, then I'll just let them cruise all over the arena. I'm not worried about if they get surgy, if they get fast or slow in certain areas. As long as they're at a lope, I just kind of let them cruise around at their own speed. So you can see here she's kind of bowing out of my circle there, and then when I bring her back across, she just kind of dives in and cuts that whole circle off. So I'm going to bring her around just one more time and see if I can push her a little bit closer to that wall, and then we're going to call it good. So the change is very subtle, but what I'm working on here is the same exercise I was at a trot, where I gently pick up, bump her between my legs, and wait for her to soften. That was it right there. I'm going to finish my circle up here, ask her to come down to a trot. That was a really nice transition. I'll bring her down to a stop and then just let her rest. So just like I did last time, after loping her out, I'm going to bring her back and just do some slow exercises, do a little bit of desensitizing, and just try and get her mind really quiet and relaxed before we quit. You can see I'm kind of petting her all over here. I'm going to go ahead and slap my legs, make some noise. You can see she sped up there. She got a little bit worried. I'm just going to reassure her and keep going. It's very important when working with young horses, or any horses for that matter, but especially these young ones that have a tendency to get emotional pretty quickly, that you bring the energy and emotions up and then you bring them back down and do something that's relaxing and quiet. And by doing that, you stretch that horse's capacity for handling what he considers to be stressful situations, while at the same time shaping him to have a more consistently relaxed frame of mind. I'm going to go ahead and lope her off here just one more time. This is the side that she struggled with a lot more, so I want to do it a little bit more consistently. I did lope her to the left a little bit more, but I apparently didn't have footage of that. You can see here she almost falls in there, but because we had worked on that shoulder control, I was able to stand that shoulder back up and push her over closer to the wall again. Her neck is starting to drop down just a little bit more, ever so slightly. It's definitely not perfect, but it is progress for her, so I'm really happy with that. I'm going to push her around here, right through this area where she's uncomfortable, and then I'll break her back down to a trot. With these young horses, I don't like to do a lot of lope to stop, because I found that it has a tendency to make them kind of nosedive into the ground, and they get pretty front-endy if you do that. What I'd like to do instead is bring them from a lope to a walk or to a jog and work on some body control, push those shoulders around and stuff, and that seems to really free up the front end a little bit more and keep them a little bit more elevated when they go into the stop later on. I prefer to work on their stops a lot more from the trot. I'm going to finish up here just by reviewing the exercise we worked on in the beginning, just gently picking up, bumping with my legs, and asking that horse to soften and get between my hands and legs a little bit more. She's starting to understand the concept of breaking in the withers and softening the back. I'm just going to bump her really lightly there and wait till she kind of drives into that bit. That was beautiful there. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel if you would like to see more training updates and tutorials like this one. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments or videos that you would like for us to share with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.